everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andy, and this old girl behind me is Margaret, my C750 Cabover project. She's a long-term project. We're slowly making headway, and today, I've been talking about it for 2 videos now, we need to tie into that fuel tank. I have yet to open the original fuel tank that came equipped on this truck, and I am just sure that it is full of a bunch of nastiness and probably really rusty, but I never popped the top. Let's see if we can't get the cap off that fuel tank and see what awaits inside. Sometimes these old strap wrenches will really surprise you. Sometimes they don't, but I have it. Let's give her a go. Just slowly sliding around there. Let's see if we can't get a grip on this hex. Whoa! That surprised me. Yeah, that's not a good sign. Five for 5. Doing pretty good. 6 for 6. The one that we rounded off, probably because we just didn't push it down far enough. And this is a special bolt extractor that I purchased, rocket socket, made in USA. Had great reviews. I have yet to use it on something that I needed it on, I guess. This will be the first try at something realistic. Well, I broke it off just as good as the socket, so winning. All right, let's see what's underneath door number 1. It's in way better shape than what I thought it was gonna be. Take a look in there. I mean, there's some, has a sending unit with a float over there. It's got some rust in the bottom. I'll tool you around the other side. There's a pickup that goes all the way down. But yeah, it's way better than what I thought it was gonna be. Look at that. I think we can clean that out of there and get her going again. Nothing like hugging a big old bomb. What I'm trying to do is file these down manually and drill these out with a hand drill to try to avoid having to weld or grind on this tank, because if we do that, then we're gonna have to fill the whole thing with water and rinse it out, and that's just something I really would like to avoid doing if at all possible. And at the same time, I don't want to turn this thing into a massive bomb. What we're looking to do here with this is to create a nice flat surface on the tops of these sheared off bolts, so we can center punch them and drill them out as close to center as possible. Center punch basically works by the method of impact. You hold it where you want it, hold the bottom half, and then the top half will telescope up on the extension spring and release it. And it does a really nice job. One of my viewers, kind viewer I might add, shared this tool with me, and I really appreciate that because it does work really good, and I always lose my center punches. This particular one, it's all black, so I added the green paint marker. That way I'm less likely to use it, easier to identify. But it worked really good. If you're interested in this tool, I'll share more information at the end of this video. Let's get these drilled out. Finally, if you didn't notice, this was a massive struggle. I broke tons of drill bits. Lesson learned. When I drilled the pilot, I didn't drill the pilot all the way through. And on some of these, particularly this one and this one, I was struggling quite a bit because the rusty metal would go back into the hole and it would just sit in there, the rusty metal particles, and just grind on the end of the drill bit. I couldn't even get to the metal to drill it out. So that was not good. Don't want to do that. Good news, however, is I was able to tap all of the screws out to be 5/16 18, which I believe is a little bit bigger than the previous quarter. Well, I know it's bigger than quarter 20, but I believe the previous holes and taps were for quarter 20 bolts. So now we can move forward and try to clean this out inside here the best we can and get this cap back on. It's 1,000 times better. And if you would have told me 6 months ago that I was going to be sticking my arm in here and getting all filthy dirty trying to clean this thing out, I would have laughed at you, because I would have thought this thing was not salvageable, and I definitely did not want to stick my arm in there. But here we are. I ended up getting in there with the angle die grinder with some Scotch-Brite discs. Now, be extremely cautious when working on a fuel tank, and probably don't do anything that I do here. This is extremely dangerous. These fuel tanks can have gas vapors in them. This one, before we started, has been empty for a very long time, and to be honest with you, when I popped this cap, it didn't even smell like fuel, or rotten fuel for that matter. It's just been empty. So that concerns me a little bit. It may have a leak in it, but the only way to figure that out is let's splish splash some fuel in there and see if it stays in there, and maybe kind of flush it out if we can get that plug out of the bottom. Compare that to what it used to look like. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is way better than what we were dealing with previously. Yeah. Let's get some fuel in there to try to kind of rinse out what's stuck in the bottom of this tank, and then we'll pull the plug and let her drain into that catch pan. That's cute. We drop the cap to the fuel tank in there. Well, good news, I don't see anything on the rustiest parts. Now, I did create some drips because I spilled it when I was trying to work it around in the top access cover, so it's rolling down the back here. But aside from that, I don't see any like definitely obvious spots where it's leaking. I mean, it is dripping a little bit out of the plug here, and we're gonna drain that. So prepare yourself. Glad it. So brown, because I'm cheap and my lawnmower isn't that picky. My little crappy push lawnmower will probably run that. Do that 1 or 2 more times. Use a 3/4 inch big boy to take this thing out. We don't need to be tightening it with that. So you just got the regular 1/2 inch. Give her a nice little snug up. So we got fuel in there. Just enough to cover the bottom half and get in the pickup tube. And I think if that doesn't leak out, we should be good to go, because that's the rustiest spot on the whole tank. To fire the little drill press up and change that cover plate so it has the correct size holes to accept 5/16 bolts. Be good to go to accept our 5/16 inch bolts. So we got it all drilled out and deburred. Let's go get this back on the fuel tank. That way we don't get a bunch of oil or a bunch of water or other contaminants in there. In the future, I want to try to make a custom gasket for this, but right now we don't have time to get into that. Well, I know there's something good in there somewhere. Well, I don't really welcome the idea of having to use a ratchet this size, but I've been itching to use this bad boy ever since I first acquired it. This is a used Armstrong 14-906 1-inch drive ratchet. And if this isn't going to break those bolts loose, yeah, we got a problem. So let's go try this thing out. Oh. Step right up and get your hot nuts. No problem, get that out of there. We definitely didn't need this big old girl, but it sure was fun to hear her clink and clank and ratchet along. This is the first time I ever ratcheted it, aside from just playing with it. So, oh yeah, she's a good ratchet. Made in USA, if you didn't know. Armstrong. You guys might want to know why I cut these bad boys off of the truck frame. Let me go show you. Last night I removed the old tank here. It was kind of in the rain and dark, so I couldn't really show you anything that you would want to see or want to even watch. But I removed the tank and brought it in here for the garage so we can inspect it further and repair it. Here's what I found. Oh no, we're gonna have to find a different tank. This thing's got a massive hole, just rusted through it. It's paper thin wherever the straps were, and this thing's just no good. If you can see the light there, that's the light shining from the inside of the tank. I could fit my pinky finger almost all the way in there, and that is no good. This thing's gonna go in the scrap hopper. We gotta find a different solution. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave your questions and comments in that section below, and don't forget to punch that subscribe button on your way out. Thanks for watching, everyone.